Hi there. Let me share with you my video story and how actually I figured out the solution by myself. Anyway, I live with my mom and dad, three sisters and brothers. So we've been live a good life like any families. But suddenly my dad died, so my mom take the whole responsibility of taking care of us. But she really was struggling with this. Anyway, she was also has a bad habit to actually do it specifically with me. She used to slap me in my mouth whenever I want to speak. She always explained that this is something of her traditionals I need to follow. They treat the girls like that. So whenever I want to speak with her, or even though I want to speak with oldest specifically, she always slapped me in my face. And I was really upset and angry for that. But what can I do? I still young. Still grow with me until I became older. Sometimes I feel that same whenever I want to speak out loud. I have some fear inside me. It's really stuck in me from speaking out loud. Even though when I was in my school, I was so afraid of speaking. Whenever they ask me some questions, I don't like to answer. I always use a pen and a paper to speak. I don't want to speak out loud. And this actually problem grow with me since I am a child, and it's been about 9 to 10 years now. So when I grow older, I think this problem stick to me, and every time when I want to speak out loud, my brain tells me that you're not capable to speak. Even though when I want to speak to oldest, I never speak with them, and not because I'm shy, because I told you that this bad habit that grow with me. But I finally find my solution and how actually I shift this and help me to get out of this. So I'm really excited to share with you some powerful taking away from the book that really helped me to grow. But I'm not going to share the book now until maybe let's make it a surprise at the end of the video. But for now, let me focus about the things that really I start to feel it and I start to do it since I want to shift myself and grow myself. You know, maybe for you, some of you will say talking is so much easier for anybody. And I know that. I believe that, especially if you are growing in a wonderful family, you will learn so much things how to speak, how to end the conversation, how to deal during the conversation. You will be say it, or even though you will feel it so easier. But for me, it was so difficult. Even though when I was at home, nobody's speaking with me. So I've been so struggling with this. Anyway, let's jump to things that helped me through that book. And I hope it's helped one of you, or even though it's going to be something new to learn it during starting conversation, during ending conversation, whatever it's all about relationships. I will share so with you nine principles. Actually, they are not nine, they are 18. Oh, but don't worry, I will separate it into videos. So today I will share with you just only nine principles that I know if you stick to them, you will have a wonderful conversation. So let's jump to first one that I want to share it with you is when you start conversation, do you prefer to start the conversation face to face or even though in a social media? For me, it was so difficult to start conversation by actually face to face. It's been so hard for me. And I know most of us, maybe we've been struggling by this. But this is not only my fear. My fear also, it's when I meet somebody, I actually have this fear of not opening conversation. I, I kid you not, I never open conversation with somebody. I feel it. It's something like I don't have to say it. So I feel so struggling by this. So you need to focus which one to choose, especially if you have something important to say. The second point, and I love that, I know that you understand me, but I know maybe you didn't understand it the way I wanted. Sometimes when you are speaking, you feel that that person is really get to understand you, but in reality, he understand it the way she like it, not the way you want him to understand you. And I think this is something we really need to focus about whenever we have a conversation with somebody, or even though an important conversation. Sometimes you love somebody, but you know how actually to start conversation, and this is was my huge problem. Whenever I try to speak, I find myself I'm not growing. You know why? Because I used to say it, I say close conversation. I don't know what's the difference, but now actually after reading this book, it's really opened my mind for so many things. And this is one of the things that really helped me to start focusing about, which is actually do never speak with a closing conversation. Like, for example, you just ask them about yes or no. You have to shift it to opening conversation to allow this person to speak so much. She also mentioned through the book that open conversation always start by when, where, why, who, and why. So these five words actually they're helping you to start the opening conversation to make that person to speak more about himself. So next time try to use them and you will see the difference. The second point is actually starting and ending conversation. Be sure that whenever you meet somebody for the first time, you have to be so polite with them because these situations will stick to the other person's mind. So, whenever you meet somebody for the first time, make sure to be in a good attitude, even though if it's not your duty, just for this moment. And by the end of the conversation, close that conversation by polite. I guarantee you, he will never forget the first meeting. I remember when I meet my first friend, and I was so out of mood, but I treated her so nice, not because I like her or something, just because I want to finish the things that I am about to do it. And almost when we get arguing sometimes, she always remember me, and she's keep telling me that your first meeting was so unique and I love it. So you need to focus more or get more attention when you treat somebody for the first time. Another problem that maybe you can face it during conversation is actually you have to stop as soon as you want to say something. Not because you are feared, but because to avoid making mistakes with somebody, especially if that person he really stop you in each word and love to know everything. She can't actually avoid the mistakes. So you need to make sure to stop before speaking and think about your word before spit it out. Things like gossip, we all know that gossiping is something really bad, but you need to focus about three principles and make sure to keep them in your mind. First, number one is actually what to say. The second, what to do. The third is what actually the people say about you, especially if you are working in or even though you are in a place that you have to deal with people. So you need to make sure to put these three principles in your mind before saying any word in your work or your job. Another point was actually if you're not speaking, how I can know you. Speak to let me to know you more better. The more you speak, the more will help this person to understand you or even though to know you. Have you ever heard the phrases that said the best listener, the best speaker are the best listener? So from your speaking, I can guarantee you that people will know you. But if you are in a position to listen to that person, how you will deal with this? Simply, I will share with you three technique that it's going to be so easy to do it while you're having a conversation with somebody. If you are having a conversation and you are the one who is listening, the first things you do is you have to put a smile in your face. Second, keep looking through the guy who are speaking with you, and then also be a little closer to that guy. This small technique, it's really gonna help you to admire the other person. I'll let them to know that you are fully attention with them, and even though 100% you are really admire about their speech. So next time, if you get any conversation, try to this simple technique and you'll see them. That's a huge problem for me. Do you know what it is? It's actually when you start a small conversation. I used to hate starting small conversation. I said for myself, what's what the benefit of that? And sometimes I have some many questions like you, of course, like you guys. I always ask myself, I'm not a good person in starting conversation. What's the value of starting small conversation? And sometimes I also ask some kind of questions like, I'm not that smart to start conversation. What if he asks me something and I don't have the answers? I will be stupid. So for that, I always close the conversation and I never even help my brain or myself to start any conversation. Whenever somebody is speaking with me, I love get to the point. I don't want him to waste my time by speaking about her day, what he did. This is something I don't want to focus about, but I was really wrong. After I read this book, it really shifted my brain and helped me to understand why I should start with a simple and easy conversation. Because when you start the simple and easy conversation, it will lead you to a big conversation. And I was so unaware about this, but after I read this specific book, it's really helped me to think actually outside of the box. And here are some ideas so it can really help you to start conversation. I know most of us start by the weather, by the news, sometimes by the problem that you've been through, and also you can start by your hobby. You can start sharing your hobbies with somebody. Actually, in this point, I will say that whenever somebody asks me about my hobby, I feel fair and I feel it's kind of a secret. I don't want to anybody to know about my hobby. So I used to tell them I don't have it, or sometimes I said anything that comes to my mind and I don't care. But now I love to share my hobby and I love to speak. And I feel that inside me actually. Many things that you can find to start a conversation, maybe also, for example, education. If you are maybe in students or university, so it's so easy to share your conversation together. You'll share the conversation by asking about learning or general learning. Now, I kid you not, I love to speak with anybody about this small conversation because I know that this will lead me to a big conversation in the future. The last point I want to share with is actually we need to talk. We always say this word, where even whatever we're not recognizing what the other person is thinking about. So we always say we need to talk if we don't have a time and it's something emergency or something you need to speak more about it. So if the person that he know that what are you going to talk about in the future is going to be so much good, but if he don't know, this is really something will drain her mind and also keep him worried all the time about figuring out what exactly are you going to say or you want to speak together, especially if it might be your manager, your mom, your dad, especially if somebody who are really important in your life. Even though your friend actually something really get to feel kind of a nervous, this kind of behavior actually increase tensions and lead to conflicts. So you need to make sure whenever you want to say for somebody that we need to talk, just give them the title or even though explain what the things that you are want to talk about. With this, it's really gonna help them to not feel stressed out and be fully aware with you. And even though you're not make them to get crazy by saying this simple word. I think we came to the end, and with that point, I think we finish our all pointing of today. I can't wait to see you in the part 2 of describing or even though to help yourself to speak or starting conversation with people. And of course, I will share with you the book that I hold it at the end of my video because I want to make it a surprise for you and guarantee you that's going to be a big surprise. So if you are really interested to finish the whole series of this book, I can't wait to see you in the next video. See you there. Take care and bye for now.